Robin Lundberg here with Amy Campbell. And Amy, I'd bet somewhere Kevin Durant had his finger hovering over the like button after the performance what Russell Westbrook and the Thunder had last night against the Jazz.
Yeah, I know he probably wasn't too mad to watch his former team lose. And as for Westbrook, well, when you talk some trash, you have to back it up, and he failed to do that against the Jazz on Monday night. The reigning MVP guaranteed he'd shut down Ricky Rubio, but by the end of the first half, Russ had 4 fouls, and this is great. Mitt Romney was on the sidelines letting Westbrook hear about it. The Jazz dominated, taking the 113-96 win, and just like that, the Thunder are on the brink of elimination. So, Robin, who do you blame for this?
It doesn't matter who I blame for this. Everyone is going to blame Russell Westbrook for this. And all his critics are going to take this as confirmation of what they've been saying, that he's not a winning player within a team dynamic, that he loses his cool, that he takes bad shots in the fourth quarter. All of these things ring true right now with Russell Westbrook. But there are other issues. Carmelo Anthony has been terrible. I mean, he is a minus player at this point. Paul George has been inconsistent, and the Thunder don't really have a bench to speak of. So it's not all on Russell Westbrook, but we know how this game works. It will wind up all on Russell Westbrook.
Right, I think that's the standard, right? When you're the reigning MVP, you definitely have a higher standard, especially if you're going to talk trash and make guarantees the way he did.
You can't be outplayed by Ricky Rubio.
You can't, and I thought it was interesting to see this kind of parallel between Westbrook and Donovan Mitchell. Westbrook talking trash and saying, I'm guaranteeing this is going to happen. Mitchell just tweets the little zipper closed mouth emoji, and we saw which guy had more poise in this game.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are a bit unaware of the Jazz. You know, Donovan Mitchell's been in the Rookie of the Year conversation. He has extended that in the postseason. He's really scored. He's really attacked. Rubio has been solid for them. Obviously, they have Gobert. So this is a team that can play. I mean, the best net rating in the NBA post All-Star break has continued into the postseason.
They've been a lot of fun.
Meanwhile, the team with the best record in the NBA during the regular season, they had a close game at halftime. Then the Rockets put up 50 in the third quarter en route to vanquishing the T-Wolves. Has Houston answered the playoff concerns?
50 points. That is bananas. Playoff concerns, have they answered them? In that quarter, yes, it is one quarter. But I think that what stands out to me the most about this is that Harden started going 0 of 7, which is a personal worst record for him, and then managed to turn things around, scores 22 points in the third quarter. So that says a lot. And also Chris Paul's comments after that it was their defense that started to click, that turned on the offense for them. That says a lot to me about this team.
We'll see about the Rockets when they get later in the playoffs, but when you speak about defense, what about the T-Wolves? Tom Thibodeau, you're supposed to be this defensive guru. Where is it with the Timberwolves? I think a lot of people can look at the T-Wolves and their performance with their talent and be more disappointed in what he has done as coach and what they have done than what the Rockets, you know, the concerns about them in the postseason.
Yeah, I think he leaves a lot of questions.
No doubt.
Yeah. Joined by former USC quarterback and soon-to-be NFL QB Sam Darnold and his mother, Chris, joining us on behalf of Kay Jewelers, which we'll talk more about a little bit later. But first, Sam, we are days away from the NFL draft. How are you feeling now that all of this work, all of this preparation, the finish line is in sight?
Yeah, I feel good. A lot of nerves, a lot of excitement, but definitely more excited than I am nervous. We've just, been looking forward to this for a few months now, and it's finally here. But I feel like these last few days are going to go by pretty slow. I know my mom and my dad and sister are all excited as well. So just looking forward to it. Yeah.
Very exciting time. So we know Cleveland has that #1 pick. Historically, quarterbacks not doing so well there the last 20 years or so. In the past, we've seen quarterbacks refuse to go to certain franchises that they didn't feel could put them in a good position. Why do you think that you could be the guy to turn it around in Cleveland?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I think they've done a lot of good things there, just in terms of free agency and, what they're trying to do to make their team better. I think they're doing a lot of good things, as are, a lot of the teams up towards the top of the draft who didn't have that great of seasons last year. So, wherever I go, I'd be excited to go there, and I think everyone's in a position to win. It's just about getting that key piece as a quarterback position, because in my opinion, and a lot of people think that, the quarterback position is the most important position in sports to a team. So I'm really excited to just go somewhere that, wants me, but at the same time, I'm excited to go in there, learn, and just get with my teammates and my coaches as fast as possible.
Of course, we know the Giants and Jets have picks 2 and 3. So, Chris, I'm going to turn to you. Would you rather move to Cleveland or New York?
Whichever franchise he goes to, the way I think we all look at it as a family is that who's ever willing to pay him that kind of money to play for them and want him and pick him, they're going to be so lucky to have him. He's going to work his tail off, and he'll make that team a better place and a better, I think. He inspires people. He surprised me with this necklace this morning from Kay Jewelers, and it's an early Mother's Day gift, and just super thoughtful, and that's just who he is,
She's going to wear it to the draft, too.
Yes.
And, it's just something that I can give her that she can keep that just kind of shows, how much I love her and all the love that she's shown me throughout my whole career.
To watch him go through this process, it's just a whole nother ball game, and it's pretty impressive. So
Going from amateur to professional, it's a big jump.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and you're under a microscope so much, and I was going to ask you about one of the storylines we heard over the last few weeks was the comments that Jim Mora made about Josh Rosen, and if he were the Browns, that he would take you over his former quarterback. What do you make of those comments? How would you feel if you were Josh Rosen?
Well, I mean, from my perspective, because I'm not Josh, it's flattering, first of all, that he would say that, but he knows Josh really well. So I think he's really speaking from the heart and knowing, what the best situation might be for Josh, what the best situation might be for me, just because he understands me as a player, and then off the field he understands, what I'm about. And just kind of based on those two factors, he decided to say that, and, that was really flattering of him, but I think Josh does understand, what he means by those comments, and he said that knowing a lot about each person.
What is your opinion of Josh Rosen's mentality?
Yeah, I mean, Josh is a great guy, first of all. And, in my opinion, a lot of people might say otherwise, but I think he's all in on football. People say that he's worried about other things, and I just don't think that's true at all. He loves how you play the game. He calls it a chess match on steroids. That's how he likes to define football, and I think that's really cool. And I think that's a different way of looking at it. But he's very cerebral. Just if you talk to the guy, you understand how smart he is. I'm not gonna lie. He even if he didn't play football, he'd have a lot of opportunities outside of football. But he's really locked in on being the best quarterback that he can be at this moment in time. And I'm excited for him. We're all just excited for each other to see where we end up and just making the most out of every situation that we might end up in.
Chris, what has it been like for you to see your son under the microscope like this and getting criticism for every little thing that people can find? How does that feel?
it's, that's been hard a little bit. And he's the one that he comes home and he'll go, Mom, don't read everything. Mom, turn that off.
She just recently got an Instagram, so.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know. I'm like social.
Yeah, and she's scrolling, Safari and, the internet and everything she can read.
No,
so.
And then the one thing I can say now, though, it's like at USC, gosh, if they taught him so much about the media and what to expect, and if he was scrutinized anywhere, it was there, too, last year. And so I think that prepared me, too, as a parent. It's kind of like going to school, and now I'm moving on into another field where he seems to be handling it well, and I don't think he has a lot of critics, and if they knew the type of person that he was, I don't think they'd criticize him at all. Best Mother's Day ever,
Yeah,
I'm telling you,
bet.
this whole process.
We'll look
so.
forward to seeing this necklace on the broadcast as well and seeing both of you there. Best of luck. It was so nice to have you. Congrats on taking this next step. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
It was great.
this was a lot of fun.
Okay, thank you.
We now welcome in Albert Breer of the MMQB. Now, Albert, everyone is speculating about what the Browns might do. Adam Schefter this morning said they are considering Baker Mayfield. He's definitely in the conversation. What do you think they're thinking, and is there some sort of internal struggle between various people in the organization about which QB they like the best?
I think John Dorsey knows what he's going to do at this point. We're 2 days before the draft, and I would say that if you don't know at this point, you probably shouldn't take one because you don't have conviction on any of them. So, I think Dorsey knows. I think there's a good chance Elliott Wolf knows. I do also know that there are other people in the building that don't know right now. And, we reported on April 12th when the idea was, is it Darnold, is it Allen? that there was a third quarterback in the mix. My sense was always that Baker Mayfield had some support in that building. I don't know right now if Baker Mayfield is the guy. What I can tell you is that when they started their draft meetings, and that was right the 11th, 12th, 13th, right in there, Baker Mayfield was still very much part of that conversation. Whether or not he's the number one pick, we'll have to wait and see. But he has support in the building.
There are a lot of quarterbacks in this draft, but there are even more teams that need quarterbacks. We're hearing a lot of rumblings of different teams moving up. Who do you think could be somebody to make a move on draft day?
You know, and what's interesting about it, Amy, and I'll give you the teams in a second, but what to me is fascinating about it is for all of these teams, and the Jets were in this group before they moved up, there's a lot of pressure to get one now because 2019, there could be players that have emerged, maybe somebody like Jared Stidham from Auburn, but as it stands right now, I don't know that there's a single quarterback that's eligible to come out next year that is seen across the NFL as this guy's a first-round pick, the same way Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, and Josh Allen were seen at this time last year. So that means if you're Steve Wilks, now you're looking at it and you're saying, well, if I go into year one without a long-term answer, there might not be an answer in year two. Now we're talking about going to year three without an answer. Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott in Buffalo, if we're not going to get our answer now in year two, and there's not an answer in year three, then we're going to be going in year four still looking for one. So I mentioned the two teams there. I think those two teams are the ones to watch as far as moving up. Buffalo from 12, I think, would be aggressive in moving up. Arizona might be a team where they would need one to slide, where maybe they're not going to go up into the top 5, but if one gets into that 6 to 10 range, they would make their move at that point. Both those teams, obviously, teams to watch. I think there are other teams that could take quarterbacks. I think Denver could take a quarterback. I think Miami could take a quarterback, but I don't think those teams will be moving up. I think if the right guy falls to them, they'd consider it, whereas I think Buffalo and Arizona would be the teams that you'd probably be watching to be a little bit more aggressive on Thursday night.
What about teams that could trade down? We've seen the first round not as heavy as some of the later rounds in terms of talent. Rounds 2 and 3 could be very rich for some teams.
Yeah, the two teams that I think you want to watch as far as trade down possibilities, and a lot's going to depend on what happens at 2 with the Giants, but let's say they take Saquon Barkley at 2. I don't think Cleveland wants to move down very far, if at all, from 4. I think they want to get a blue chip player. And so I think it would be hard to get them to move off their spot at 4, knowing that either Bradley Chubb or Saquon Barkley is going to be there for them. The spots you want to watch are the ones right behind them. Denver at 5, and then Indianapolis at 6. Indianapolis, I think there's a limit as far as how far down they'd go. Denver, I think, would be open to almost anything as far as moving down. And so what's difficult about it, I think, is that you have a cliff in this year's draft where most teams I've talked to maybe have 15, 16, 17 guys with first-round grades. So there are teams that are looking at picks outside of the top 15. That's really a second-rounder to us. And so I think that's put a limit as far as how far Denver and Indianapolis are willing to go. And Buffalo and Arizona are sort of on the edge of that. So they'd need to give up, they need to give up a lot to get up to where Denver and Indianapolis are. Should be really, really interesting to watch. But I think Denver and Indianapolis would be very open to trading down.
Definitely going to be a wild ride. Well, we know quarterbacks are the big story of this draft, and we could see 4 going in the very early picks of round 1, or we might see 1 or 2 fall. It would not be unprecedented. Aaron Rodgers waited longer than he expected for that phone to ring, sliding all the way down to pick 24. And back in '83, Dan Marino had to wait until pick 27 before he heard his name called. This year remains to be seen, but UCLA's Josh Rosen shouldn't be available for too long. Robin had the chance to catch up with one of this year's top QBs. Take a look.
I'm here with Josh Rosen, who comes to us courtesy of the Old Spice Red Collection. Now, Josh, Sam Darnold told us you view football as a game of chess on steroids. Would you say that's an accurate assessment?
Yeah, absolutely. Football is a really cool sport. It's definitely a game of chess because you're battling a defensive coordinator. You're working with X and O's on a field, but every now and then you kind of have just a dude that you can throw it up to. You got something you can just kind of say screw the game, and you could be a bigger, more physical team, maybe just run the ball down their throat regardless of the chess game at hand. But I think that's why football is pretty cool because there are a lot of different pieces at play.
Is that kind of player you're talking about essentially the queen, the guy you can just throw the ball up to, can do whatever he wants out there?
Yeah, something like that.
Now, when I heard about you earlier this year and was reading some stuff, there were people throwing out the term off-field concern. So I went looking, and all I could find is that you're a human being with thoughts on things. How much does it bother you that some in the NFL may see that as a negative?
It is what it is. I'm going to be me, and if a team wants to draft me for who I am, they can draft me. They know they're getting a hell of a football player that gives absolutely everything they have, each and every day of the week. But any of the off-field stuff, it's just kind of water under the bridge, I guess you could say. I'm just really excited to get into the NFL and really find out how good at this thing I am. I want to get on the field with Tom Brady. I want to get on the field with Aaron Rodgers. I want to get on the field with the greatest who've ever played this game. I want to play against Luke Kuechly. I want to play against all these dudes and really see if I can earn their respect. I want to shake their hand at the end of the game, and I want to earn their respect, and I want to belong in that same field and ultimately succeed.
Do you find it puzzling that some people couldn't comprehend that you could have off-the-field interest and also be fully committed to football?
Sure. I mean, I think it's kind of with the social media going on and everything. It's just kind of a new brand of athlete. It's kind of a new crop of young kids coming up and becoming professional athletes who are just getting a lot of information all the time. I mean, we're on our phones a lot, and Instagram, Twitter, you're getting bombarded with stuff. I mean, the second something happens on the other side of the world, we know about it, and I think sometimes that's just kind of how people are wired nowadays. And don't get it twisted. But the main thing's the main thing, and football is my life. But I think sometimes people just kind of it's just kind of an interesting time in the world, I guess you could say. And I've always been interested in a bunch of random things, random facts. I follow some fun fact Instagram accounts, but the main thing's still the main thing.
Now, some reports have said you're the QB most likely to fall in the draft. What's your response to that?
I don't care. Wherever I go, I promise you I'll be the last one standing.
Wherever you go. I like those words right there. Now, we've heard some words emphasizing various traits for QBs in the draft, with Allen, arm strength, with Mayfield, efficiency, Darnold, improvisation, with Jackson, of course, he's a running threat. What is the one trait you would apply to yourself?
I'm not a fan of these buzzwords. I think it's quarterback. Who's the best at being a quarterback? There's a time-tested way on how to be a quarterback, and that's throwing the football to your receivers. I don't want to get good at being off schedule because I don't want to be off schedule. The dudes in the NFL are a lot bigger and a lot faster. These defensive ends run faster than your running backs sometimes, and I don't want to practice being off schedule. I mean, I'll definitely work on throwing on the run and all that stuff and on like bootlegs and whatnot, but I don't want to work on something like that goes wrong. I'd rather just try to be within the system for the most that you possibly can be and deliver the ball quickly and efficiently to your athletes, because regardless of how good we are as being an athlete at quarterback, our receivers are better. So the game plan is to get the ball to them as quickly as possible and let them do what the NFL pays them to do.
Obviously, your definition of quarterback is a little more nuanced, but you just said that you'll be the last one standing amongst this bunch. What is it about you specifically that gives you that kind of confidence at the NFL level?
I think I have the attitude to carry a locker room. I think I have the skills to be an efficient and quick quarterback. I think I can deliver the ball to my playmakers quickly. I think I can make I can bring my offensive coordinator's brain onto the field and make sure that we're in the right play at the right times. I think I'm the best CEO of a football team on the field, and I think that's what comes with being a quarterback. And any of that kind of special sauce on the side, you can kind of treat it an X factor, an it factor, whatever. I want to be a quarterback. There's a time-tested way on how to do that, and I mean the greats of all time have similar skill sets. Tom Brady's, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning's, and that's the group of names that I want to be mentioned in.
Now, we've touched on it already a bit. You're a little bit of a Renaissance man. Why the Old Spice red collection scents for you?
Well, I mean, I've been wearing Old Spice my whole life, and they got this new Captain scent. Get some premium scents without all the fancy prices. So it's only natural fit. I've actually currently have Old Spice in my hair at the moment, making you look good. So hopefully when I'm going up and shaking Mr. Goodell's hand, I'm not giving him any unnecessary whiffs.
Josh, appreciate the time today. Good luck in the NFL, man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
We're We're almost through the first month of the baseball season, and here to talk about all of it is Albert Chen. Albert, it's still early in the season, so we wanted to go over some storylines and determine whether they were fair, a trend, or foul, an anomaly. Yu Darvish really struggling. We saw what he did in the World Series, obviously, as well. Are we beginning to see the end of the Japanese pitcher?
That's a little extreme. I'll go foul there. His start looks even worse now that Jake Arrieta in Philadelphia has been absolutely lights out. So Cubs fans are kind of like, why didn't we sign Arrieta and why do we have Darvish? Look, 4 starts, one of them in Coors Field. We know how brutal that is pitching there. He's pitched well in 1 start. Darvish has always been a streaky pitcher. I'm going to go with his body of work. He was great last season. Still very small sample size. Darvish is going to be absolutely fine in Chicago. Great organization. He'll be okay.
Okay, next, the Angels shut out the Astros Monday night. They're on their tail in the AL West, just half a game behind. So fair or foul, the Angels will overthrow Houston and win the AL West.
Well, yeah, I'm going to go fair there. Woo! I mean, I'm going to just, because I think the Angels are for real. Now, do I actually think the Astros are going to, lose to the Angels at the end of the day? Probably not. But I think the larger point here is the Angels are absolutely for real. It's going to be a great race in the AL West. Now, Houston's going to start hitting. But the Angels, I think the key here, Tyler Skaggs, Garrett Richards have been really solid. And we all know about Shohei Ohtani, who has been absolutely just so much better than we expected. Now, is that going to keep up? He may be a very good player for them, but I love the pitching on the Angels. I think they're going to make it a great race.
All right, we all know about the fall of the Dark Knight. At this point, Matt Harvey's basically the Val Kilmer Batman. Matt Harvey will never make another start.
Wow, never make another start for the Mets, potentially fair there. I think he's going to make another start in the major leagues. I think, there's going to be a team out there that is willing to take a chance. Now, I'm not ready to write him off on the Mets. I think he's in the right situation there with Mickey Callaway, who's done, had some reclamation projects or guys who have struggled, Trevor Bauer and Carlos Carrasco in Cleveland. So he's in the right situation in New York where he could succeed, but time is running out. I think he's going to win another start, but for a different team.
All right, so for the other New York team, everybody was freaking out when the Yankees started the season off struggling. They've won 7 of 10. They've won their last 3. The bats are getting hot. So fair or foul, they are now who we thought they were.
They are. They're absolutely fair there. And I think, we knew that Stanton was going to start heating up. And Judge obviously is Judge. This is a monster lineup. It's all about the offense there. But, what's so impressive is the young guys. Gleyber Torres getting his start, and we'll see what he can do. But, a guy like Miguel Andujar, who started to struggle early on, we were wondering, is he going to stick? And he had just a ridiculous week. And now, that lineup, Didi Gregorius, it's just tremendous. It's going to be a good race in Boston, but yeah, the Yankees are absolutely who we thought they are.
Albert Chen, I knew the Yankees' struggles at the beginning of the season were a little overblown. Thanks for the time. Thanks for your time today. Make sure to check us out same time and the same place tomorrow. In the meantime, you can go to @SINowLive on Twitter for all of the latest videos and updates. Have a good one, everybody.
See ya.